Welcome back to another AI Journal LinkedIn Live. Today, we have the pleasure of bringing Mark Sears from CloudFactory on. This is part of the series that we're doing to recognize and celebrate for the achievements of what the award winners did for the 2022 Global Excellence Awards. It's really exciting to look at what companies have done and what the achievements is and what they've brought for their team to bring that success for their customers, to the industries that they support. And Mark, I just want to welcome you on and say a massive hello and thank you for joining us. And it'd be great if we can just get a bit of an intro to who you are, Mark, and what it is you and the team at CloudFactory do, please, sir.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tom. We're definitely honored and grateful to be recognized by AI Journal, and certainly excited for a discussion. Always fun to dig in, and I'll start with just a very, very quick overview of CloudFactory. Is we really are a factory in the cloud that helps companies get the data they need to build high-performing machine learning and artificial intelligence. And so we are, as we like to say, we are the humans in the loop behind the AI that is changing the world. And we've been doing this for over a decade now. And so we've been building the technology and the process and finding talented people all over the world to help companies make AI a reality.
I love that. And if I can just dig a little bit, Mark, when you said you've been over it in a decade, what is it that kind of you sparked that ignition, that passion, that drive to work with the fantastic team you've got across the world now, obviously building it through the different problems the world keeps giving us, but really finding those opportunities? Where was it that passion started? Was it from a previous career? Was it spotting a certain industry that couldn't figure out the solution which you and CloudFactory are providing? Where did it all start for you, Mark?
Well, I mean, we could have a whole podcast discussion on that, but the very quick story, Tom, is so I'm Canadian. I'm computer scientist, took a very traditional developer to project manager, product manager, entrepreneur. So that was a little more traditional, but what wasn't, I even did the whole didn't finish college thing, so I mean, all that was fairly traditional. What wasn't traditional is how the company started. So me and my wife, we ended up going to the Middle East for her job, and then we ended up taking a 2-week vacation to Nepal in 2008 that ended up literally turning into us extending that 3 weeks after I met 3 really young, talented software developers, and decided to just extend my ticket, bought an iMac, started doing some training and programming together. And next thing I know, we got a second project, ended up staying we'll stay 3 months. And then 6 years later, we had our 2 kids and CloudFactory was born. And it really was out of what remains today, the heart and the purpose of the company is to connect 1 million talented people in developing countries to meaningful online work. And so that's the drive for us, is we believe that we're so passionate about technology and artificial intelligence. Yeah. And yet, of course, as I'm sure we get in the conversation, the very interesting part is how essential humans are in today in building AI, but also in tomorrow to sustain and make AI actually help us all flourish. So for us, it's about people. And that led us to begin building a technology platform of saying, okay, how can we build this factory in the cloud that can produce high quality data at scale? And initially, it wasn't for AI companies. It was for a lot of SaaS platforms and companies that were automating a lot of the work, but they needed humans in the loop to be able to review and resolve exceptions and just actually do a fair amount of the work. Yeah. And so that's where we really found our niche, was being the humans in the loop for a lot of technology companies. And as more and more of those companies began to have the automation and the software side become AI, they realized the only way we can do that is getting a ton of high quality data. Wow, yeah. That's what you have built people process technology for, CloudFactory. Can you help us? And so it was really kind of from those early customers and that shift that started happening, with a lot of the deep learning breakthrough and trends that really led us into the fun that we get to do today, with serving a ton of teams that are just in every industry doing all sorts of amazing things with AI.
Yeah, and I encourage people to, that are watching this as well. You really clearly define it. I remember speaking with your team, and we bumped into them at AI Summit and across several other conferences that you're really pushing to get in, into those really exciting areas. And it really amazed me. One of my first things was, wow, you've got so many exciting case studies that actually prove the value to the market, rather than saying, hey, look at what we do. It was more, look at the value we add. And I think that what you've just said there, Mark, really resonates with that, because it's one of the things I picked up on and thought, wow, I've never seen, or maybe it's very rare that you see that kind of knowledge basis for how you're helping, as you said, so many different companies across a broad range of industries, how you can add value in different ways. It's brilliant. And it's very exciting to see how, just to touch on that as well, how you're mentioning human in the loop. Is that a big thing? And is it always going to be a big thing to what CloudFactory is doing? Because it's so important. I see a lot of customers say, in a lot of companies, we deal with NLP software, we deal with all these different things, and from a media arm, and it seems just such a big thing for companies to do, to make sure that human is in the loop, to make sure that that value is being checked, to make sure the data is being checked, to make sure those things happen. How are you seeing that go forward with all the digital experiences, Mark?
Yeah, I think that there's reality today, and I think it's sort of where things are going. So the reality today that a lot of people, if they aren't actually fighting the good fight of getting AI into production and solving problems at scale, if you're in that fight, you understand the importance of being able to incorporate and coordinate large global workforces. And it requires just a ton of heavy lifting in order to get to build a model with the data that you need. And then there's the other side of knowing that in many, many use cases, even in many cases, like just advancing from 25% automation to 40% can be industry changing.
Yeah.
And so we'll often talk about things like, oh, if we could just get to 99%, but in many cases, it's still huge if you can go from 25 to 40%. But even if you get to that 99%, in so many use cases, the number of, we always talk about kind of the number of corner cases and unique cases, and all these sorts of things are actually in the real world, right? The Wild West that the real world lives in, not in kind of the R&D basement.
Yeah.
It's so big. And so actually having people there to resolve exceptions and continually train to avoid drift and shift in all the things, and bias and all the things that can cause AI to not deliver on the promise. And so, yeah, it's a big reality today that humans in the loop are important. But I would say it's a little bit bifurcated, right? Where a lot of our business today is helping teams either kind of in R&D mode, where they are trying to just get training data to get a model. And then they, still, unfortunately, it's a little like software where you throw it over the fence to the actual operations business kind of scaling team. And then many times we'll deal with those customers, right, where they're coming in more from a procurement operations product side of things, where they have to fill that gap. And so many times we're dealing with our teams, our customers that are on one side of the fence. And that's the reality today, is actually humans are required in a big way, both to train and to sustain AI. What we're excited about, though, is the direction that everything's going, with a shift from model-centric to data-centric, where those things have to be connected. And so certainly that's what we're seeing, is a lot of our customers that are the most mature in AI capabilities, they have really been able to make a shift so that it is a continuous innovation, where they're able to effectively get that feedback and iteration loop just happening so much quicker, that causes them to be able to win in whatever market they're in. And so that's, I think, the transition from where we are today, where it's not necessarily humans in the loop, but it's kind of humans on both sides. But in the loop is, I think, where everyone is going. But it's just really hard to get there, because, as much as we all know, the hype of AI is so big, actually being good at developing high-performing models and getting them into production to solve problems within industry at scale is extremely hard. And that's the battle that we fight as we can, to at the very top there, right? One of our smarter principles right behind me is to love and serve. And so we wake up every day with thousands of people around the world to come alongside of hundreds of teams to help them, to love and serve them as they are in all of these different industries with different use cases and problems that they're developing AI to solve.
I love that, Mark. That's really important. And to have that passion as well, to make sure you're beside them, to make sure you're helping them with them. And I mean, I always say as well, one of my key things is, as you said, jumping from 25% to 40% is hard. I always think of it as if companies would only think of how can I improve 1% a day, by the end of the year, you're going to be flying. And that's a very good lesson I tell myself. I think don't try and do it all in one go, because if you're just slowly but consistently hitting that benchmark, I mean, look how quickly a year goes, Mark, right? So it's very good that you have that kind of mindset for how to get people to that mark and to that level, which is very exciting. And it's fun to hear.
Yeah.
So tell me, Mark, what does it, we touched on it earlier and you touched on it just as we're coming into this conversation. I'd love to know from your angle, with winning the award and we're winning for the 2022 and as we've got 2023 coming up, I'd love to know what it kind of meant to you and the team and the wider team. Obviously, we noticed that you made an announcement for the company, which is brilliant to read and brilliant to see. But what do these kind of achievements, maybe not just ours, but when these happen and when you read about these happening, what does it kind of mean to you as one of the team leaders and as the CEO, but also with your leadership team, with the whole team, and to your customers, to the industries you serve? How did it impact you and what you're doing? And was it something that reinforced the great work that you and team are doing?
Yeah, I think I'll put the last two things you said together, Tom, right? Like, I think that, we've been going hard at this ever since my 2-week vacation, turned into starting a company. And, we've had a small and growing group of people who really, who believe in both the why we're doing what we're doing, but also in just the opportunity to help AI fulfill its potential and to help ultimately for humanity to flourish. And so we have a very long view of things. And so similar to that idea of 1%, kind of at a time is that's the team, right? We aren't a, we certainly raised a significant amount of capital and are being aggressive and going after it, but it's not sort of a go big or go home, huge venture play. We've been grinding hard towards something we believe is worthwhile. And so, it's great when we are able to be recognized as making a contribution to the advancement of AI. And so, transitioning, I think the other aspect of just remembering that we've transitioned from a startup into a medium-sized mid-market company, still small, but that kind of micro multinational turning into maybe a medium-sized multinational. And so, all of those things I think are just really encouraging as we continue to fight the good fight and try and serve our customers and serve our cloud workers, right? Again, that's what we kind of call at CloudFactory is our cloud workers are who we celebrate, and they're the ones that wake up every day and are helping to improve the performance of models and to work alongside them to, again, help so many different things that we all use every day and depend on every day to just make the world go round.
Yeah, I love that part. That's you can just hear it in your voice when it comes through, that kind of passion to help those people, and what you said in your principles behind CloudFactory. It's very exciting to hear, Mark. And I'd love to know if we can get just a little bit of insight for people listening, and when we push this out, just maybe give us a teaser, Mark, of what's next for CloudFactory. You're mentioning as you're moving up and moving to a bigger and bigger stages and more opportunities and supporting and helping, most importantly, in my eyes, more value to the world and helping in the way that you're saying it, helping humanity flourish. Tell me, would love to know what's next, Mark.
What's next? Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple specific things that are happening. And again, I think that I'll point more to what's happening in the market and therefore kind of what we're doing to help accelerate, I think, what are good things. So the first would be, really everyone's been waiting for the adoption of AI, kind of like not just kind of kicking the tires, right? But we've all been waiting to say, okay, when can companies go from just kicking the tires, running pilots, but actually find a way to do it? And we are seeing some of the biggest and most impactful businesses in the world that are starting to finally get settled, right? They've kind of figured out how do they get the hub and spoke kind of center of excellence and serve internal teams. And they've made a few different attempts on how do we sustainably develop AI to actually be a part of our business. And so we're seeing that start to happen. And so getting the opportunity to actually come alongside of those teams to begin not just doing pilots, but beginning to actually participate in training and sustaining models that go into some of the biggest things happening in the world. So I think that just adoption curve that's happening into the majority market, into the enterprise, and seeing that actually happen is pretty exciting, right? I mean, again, we have so many great startups, and I love that the energy of, just small teams that are, the .AIs, right, that are building all these really cool things. But there's also something about some of the biggest companies actually putting investment into making AI a part of their business. So I think that's one aspect. The second aspect would just be, for us is the technology aspects of really that shift to data-centric. And so that for us was, making a significant acquisition last year of one of our partners. And so having Hasty and the team out of Berlin and just the technology platform for computer vision and just really widening kind of all the things that we can bring to the table in an integrated way to say, hey, if you're building computer vision AI models, we actually bring a full stack solution to be able to be your partner to help you focus on what you need to. And so bringing more technology, a wider breadth of solutions to kind of the next stage of enterprise adopting AI, like those two things together is what we're really excited to see more and more right now.
Yeah. Very similar to me. I'm very excited. I mean, everything that happens in this space, Mark, the amount of things I look at or read or get called into with various different companies, it's very similar to what CloudFactory are doing. When I was first being introduced to what you're doing, you open my eyes to a lot of ways that data can be handled, a lot of ways that data annotation can happen, and really having that kind of, it gave me a knowledge piece to think, okay, this is how industries can increase and be better and be more savvy and be more digitally transformed, and all those things with the end goal. Like any good company, they have the value really on the end customer and on the industry, and knowing that it's going to help various different people that you might not have any contact with yourselves, but it will have that everlasting impact. So I really love that you've mentioned that, Mark, and that's in the next stage of the future growth plans for CloudFactory. So very excited, and I'll be, as I always say to your team, on the sidelines cheering for you guys. So it's very excited for the next steps.
I appreciate it. I mean, it's a fun time, right? Because I think you always have to separate what's happening at a kind of a media press, hype level, and then what's happening on the ground. And what's happening on the ground, I just had, a quick trip here where I met with 5 clients in one day, and just being able to go up and down and really get in their operations and see where they're prototyping and building, if it's robotics and different sensors and drones and all these sorts of things was just was really, really exciting to see what's happening on the ground with our customers. And what's interesting is that a lot of the people that we work with, there's even a sense of pride because there's whole new roles and departments that have been established to really support making AI. And so a lot of the people we work with actually have been at different companies. And so they've really built this career so quickly because it just didn't exist. And so there's all these people in data ops and ML ops, and just they're managing all of the process and operations, right? The heavy lift that's there to support the ML teams, the data scientists. And so it's fun to see companies figuring it out. It's fun to see the support system, that's going to help drive AI to reach its potential. All that happening. Again, I think we all would love for it to happen faster, right? Again, not the 1%, but let's just jump up 30-40%.
Yeah.
But the 1% is certainly happening, and I think it's accelerating, and it's fun to see it. It's fun to be part of it, and it's it's fun to learn together.
Yeah, I love that, Mark. But learning together is always a lot better, and I always think that as well. You see it when companies do jump very quickly, and it's not always the best answer, and it's not always the best thing because you uncover problems too quickly, or you haven't covered your tracks as quickly. And I always tell people to always, when I'm doing lives and when we're doing videos like this, and very similar to what you're saying, Mark, to really understand your blueprint for the business and understand what you want to achieve, and understand, I think you were saying a few moments ago, what their focus is to support them towards that bigger goal and to get there as a team, to realize where you're not as strong and to bring in the support to learn together, in your words just now. So yeah, really love you've got that focus for CloudFactory, and yeah, very excited for what you've got coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun next while. Certainly the language learning model, ChatGPT, everything that's really captured the imagination, I think, of even those of us who have been inside for quite a few years now. It's nice to see not just the 1%. It's nice to see some of those things because it really does. It gives us new, refreshed imagination for the impact that we all know is possible and inevitable and happening and accelerating every single month at this point.
Yeah, it's similar to what you said, right? It's and I feel like we're going to have to do a podcast on this, Mark, because I feel like I can get into a lot of conversations with you. But it's the reason why, whatever you might think of ChatGPT or whatever you don't think, for me, I've seen very good examples of it being around for a while before, but I always use the example of like sliced bread took 15 years before it became popular, and ChatGPT obviously got to that a lot quicker. But it's making me very excited because it's bringing people into the conversation that weren't before in it before, and it's given them a practical, usable case to say, what is this? What is machine learning? What is a library of information? How are you pulling this all through? And for the first time, I reckon that I've been involved in this area, granted, not as long as certain other people out there, but I really am having those conversations with people. And I had this conversation with someone on a podcast saying, I think it was from the team at New Relic, what's the next, or Expert AI, sorry, what's the next title that's going to be founded for a company? Is it going to be a solutions architect with something on the end? What's the next title, Mark? It makes me wonder and gets me excited. Gets me very excited.
I think there's going to be a lot of prompt engineers. That's for sure. I mean, there's no question the ability to, the whole man and machine thing is certainly a foundation that we started with, right? Is really believing that finding the perfect mix of human and machine intelligence to solve each and every problem, like, really is a process, and it requires both, and it's a unique blend, kind of unique recipe, most times. But I think in this situation we've got a more and more powerful machine, but having humans that are able to engineer the prompts to get the most alongside of those machines is going to become an important part of every company.
Yeah, I love it. Some great pointers to finish off. And Mark, I just want to say massive thank you again for joining, and to everyone watching this. We're really looking forward to what you guys are achieving and what the team's achieving. And for anyone joining us at the moment, keep your eyes peeled for the next series coming out. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure, and been very exciting to talk through it today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.